Hi, this is my first video on knitting technique, and what you're looking at right now is a set of circular slash multi-purpose needles with multiple tips, and then these are the connectors. And when you put them together, or you can buy them like this, you will have a knitting needle that will work just like a straight needle. And if you have straight needles, don't worry about it. The only time that's a problem is if you have a really big project and it won't all fit on one needle. There are also double point needles, which would be longer than these, but would have a point at both ends so that you can do circle work so you can take it on and off. As far as yarn goes, this is basic acrylic yarn. This is a Hobby Lobby brand. Love this yarn in acrylic. And I'll probably be showing you a lot of techniques using this yarn. It's pretty basic weight. It's what we kind of grew up with is when we talked about yarn, this is what it was. You can get plain yarn, you can get yarn that changes colors and makes its own stripes, makes its own patterns. There's a lot of fun things that you can grab if you want to create something with a design and not a lot of stitches. So that is something to look at if you haven't purchased supplies yet. Consider maybe getting one that says Fair Isle or that says self-striping. And for the weight, you want probably a 3 or a 4 weight. This is like a 4 weight. This is like a huge weight. And obviously you need like enormous needles to work something this huge. So don't start out with that. This is a cotton yarn that I'm going to be using to demonstrate some techniques. And this is done on short row work on, and again, I tend to do everything on circular needles. But it's short row work, which means it's for every 2 rows on one end, I end up with 8 on the other. And look at it, it's got some pattern and design in it, which I'll be teaching you as we go along. But the first thing I'm going to have to do, unfortunately, because there's some pretty significant mess ups in this, is something you'll get very familiar with, and it's called frogging. Frogging means I'm going to pull every stitch off of here and start over. Get used to it. It's part of if you realize you've made serious mistakes and you can't fix it, it's something that you're going to end up doing. Let's see. Yeah, this is the more of that weight that I'm working with on the pink cotton project. 100%. It's going to tell you roughly about what the gauge they think it should be. This is important. It says to use a US number 8 or a 5mm yarn, 18 stitches, 23 rows, and that should equal 4x4. I'm going to warn you now, every project you do, you should do at least a 6-inch block so that you can measure. Because if you're doing a sweater or something like that, it's not such a big deal. On a scarf, I don't care about your gauge, but you want to make sure that you have the right gauge when you go to make a dress or a blouse or what I'm working on is a shrug. Because it won't fit otherwise. It'll be too small or too big. So that when we get to reading patterns, that's going to be an important thing to make sure that your gauge equals this gauge. And I'll show you how you do that. Okay, so this is going to be the end of lesson number 1, and it's just basically getting in. Obviously, you're going to need some scissors to trim ends. And then I will teach you some things you can do with your leftover bits of yarn so that really nothing goes in the trash. This is 4 minutes. This is about what I wanted. So yay, here's the first video. And the next one will be casting on stitches. I'll see you there.